Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Video Mail for the week of April 2nd, 2012. Welcome to the site to all you new members and welcome back to the old. The Ask Video Mail, if you are not aware by now, is the only place to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one. So please send me your questions so I can answer them in your very own Ask Video Mail. The address to send those questions to is webmaster@kennyroy.com. I promise there's no such thing as a stupid question. I go through all of them and try to answer the ones that I think will help the most people. Believe me, it is the best way to get the most out of your subscription here at kennyroy.com. Please participate now if you haven't already, and you can also send me your Maya files. I love to get Maya files and open them up on the screen. Just realize that I am going to give them out with the Ask Video Mail so everyone can see the problem and also find the solution as they follow along. So send your Maya files if you want them opened on screen and sent to everybody so we can all learn together. It's also a really great way to participate in the site and get your problems solved. I love doing it, so please send it. This is a very exciting time. There are 2 days to go, actually less than 2 days, the way the clock works. I think there's about 36 hours to go on my Kickstarter project, The Little Painter. I'm sure you by now have probably grown tired of me promoting it, but we're down to the wire now. I want to make sure that everyone that has pledged has the reward level that they want. Go and check out. There have been a few new rewards added over the weeks, so if you haven't checked it out in a few weeks, at least there's definitely some rewards that you haven't seen. And I do recommend everyone at kennyroy.com, especially because you're here to learn about animation and performance. I really recommend that you take a close look at the $250 reward level, which is the access to the behind-the-scenes production blog. And what that is going to have is like everything from the movie. It's going to have basically like a blog where I'm writing about the production. It's going to have video work sessions where I'm working just like I did in the 24-hour marathon. It's going to have drawings, designs, storyboards, writing, interviews, voiceover sessions recorded. It's going to be filled with stuff. And if you've never seen a production go on, this is your chance. So really think long and hard if you think it's worth it for you to maybe get a sneak peek behind the scenes of a production like this one. So that's it. This is the last video mail that I'm going to mention it because the Kickstarter closes Wednesday, April 4th at noon Pacific time. So come by kennyroy.com. Just on the homepage, I'm going to be putting the live stream back up on the homepage, and from 10 a.m. to noon, it's going to be 2 hours of just like Q&A and hanging out and a little bit of dance. That's right. So I'm looking very much forward to seeing you guys there. KennyRoy.com on the homepage, Wednesday, April 4th. Okay, let's get to the question. It is a good one. Haha, tricked you, no question this week. Last week in the video mail, I said that I was going to show you guys how to make a proxy of your meshes. I think it's really important because not everyone has the fastest computer, and even if you do have a really fast computer, every once in a while, you're going to need a proxy. So I'm just going to run through real quick, show you the geometry tools and how to link it up to a rig that you're using. Okay, we're going to start with the Nico rig. And I find that the best way to get, if you look at this Nico rig, it's actually pretty dense. It's not super dense. Well, actually, let's see. Let's not generalize. Let's specifies. What am I doing? Oh yeah, display. It is 27,000 faces. You know, some of the production rigs that we use are around 30,000 faces, but we smooth them at render time with displacement maps. So, I mean, that's okay. But, you know, at 30,000 face, you know, this might actually be running a little bit slow on your computer. So the first thing I like to do is, this is not a really good, Maya doesn't have its decimation tool is not that great. But first thing you do is just duplicate the mesh. Okay, so now I have a duplicate of the mesh. And then I like to use the mesh reduce command, and then G, hit Alt-H, G repeats it. So you get it down to where it's somewhere like this. Like this is 1171, or sorry, 1700 faces, 1715, okay? And so this would be good. This would be a great starting place to build our proxy. Alt-Shift-D deletes history. Okay. So here is my proxy. What I did is I deleted the tail. I've already done that step. I deleted the tail because you don't animate the tail until you're near the end anyway, and you're probably going to be moving out of using this proxy anyway, or the tail joints themselves are actually a good enough indicator of where the tail is. You don't really actually even need the geometry for that, okay? Whereas you might need to see the geometry for the body. And basically what I've done is I've gone through and just cut these parts off of the body, okay? Now the way I did that, I'm going to show you on this leg. The way I did that is I went into face, okay? You select the faces that you want to cut, all right? And because this is proxy and this is just like an animation resolution mesh, you don't have to worry about getting it like right on the dot. It doesn't matter at all. It really doesn't. So use the cut faces tool and just drag it across, and it made a cut. Now again, there's some faces that are like right up against this. It's horrible edge loops. It wouldn't work at all for deformations, but that doesn't matter. All right. So I'm going to tear off both the mesh and the edit mesh panels. So I'm going to be using those a lot. I'm going to hit detach component, and what that does is that detaches all of the edges that I have selected. Hit F8 twice to go back to object mode. And then in mesh, I'm going to go separate. A quick Alt-Shift-D deletes history. All right, and now I have two meshes that have no history on them. I'm going to do this again while you're watching to just show you one more time. I'm doing the ankle now. Okay. Detach. Separate, delete history. Okay, so now we have all the body parts of the leg. Okay, now the spine basically includes the neck and the head, because what the neck and the head attach to, it has to be symmetrical, right? Otherwise, you're going to get into. Let me put this another way. So like the legs, I only need to do one side of the legs, but I need to cut the neck and the head basically across the body, whereas these are detached. Okay. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to make the anything that I do need to cut across the body, I'd like to make that symmetrical. All right. Now this may seem like it's kind of a wasted step, but it keeps me from having to do the same thing on either side with the arms and the legs. So it's kind of six and 1/2 dozen the other in order to get it to work this way. But for me, I'd much rather have to make a symmetrical spine, neck, and head than have to cut both of the legs and the arms one more time. Okay, so we're going to go to Cut Faces tool one more time. We're going to click as close as we can to the center right here, and you see this. Oops, I just did it twice. You see how it's using the angle? If you hold on Shift, it actually does 45-degree increments. So if you let go, it just put a edge loop pretty close to the grid line here. I'm going to do the same thing. Mesh, detach, F8 twice, separate, and I'm just going to delete this side. All right. Then this side, it's pretty easy to get this to line back up. If you go back to edge, this open edge here, I'm going to remove just these edges on the tail that I deleted because I don't want those to cut in. And then I'm just going to make sure in the panel and in the perspective window and in the top that there's no stragglers right here. And then I'm going to move these basically so that they snap to grid lines. And now I know, because I just snapped them, that that they're sitting right on the grid line. Now we don't, in reality, we don't actually have to worry about about sewing these up, because it really doesn't matter in the end. You know, these are not going to deform, so normals and all that stuff, it really doesn't matter. So I'm just going to grab all these, and I'm going to make sure that all the pivots are at the origin. If you hold down D, it shows you the pivots for all of the selected objects. So look, let me move this one out of the way and then select all of these and hit D. See, there's one over here. That's the one I just moved there. So I'm sure that all of these objects, when I hit D, their origin is at the world origin. Okay, that's great, because now I'm going to do a duplicate special, and I'm going to be scaling these in -1 in X, which will basically flip them over the X-axis. Okay. So there we go. Now we have basically all that. See what I mean? Like, it was really easy to just cut this down the middle. Super, super easy. And then I basically have all the holes. Everything is where it's supposed to be for the other limbs. So I find that that's better. I'm just going to combine these two. All right. And then it's pretty simple to get all these verts in the middle. You don't have to select them all at the same time. If you control right click, you can convert your selection. I'm going to convert it to edge loop, and then I'm going to convert this to vertices. So now I have 170 vertices, and if my calculations are correct, I should have 85 when I do a merge. All right, up 87. And all that means, that's not a big deal. That just means that two vertices were not close enough together to merge, and that's fine, because all I care about is that the shell was merged together, the vertices in general, because that will make it so that when I do another separate on these body parts, that something bad won't happen. Okay. So now in this view, we're going to do the rest of our cuts, because we want to make sure that we're cutting straight across the x-axis. All right, so let's go mesh cut, and let's just cut the body, cut one spine, the other spine, that's the chest. Here's the neck, maybe two in the neck, and then the head. Okay. So now, double click. Let me tear this off, because I'm going to be using this a lot as with this as well. Okay, so I can go detach, separate, grab this edge, double click, detach, separate, here, edge, double click. You can also click once and hit like the left or right arrow key to select that edge loop. Detach, double F8, separate, grab here, edge, double click, detach, F8, F8, separate, edge, double click, detach, separate, detach, F8, F8, and then separate. Okay, let's grab all these, do an Alt-Shift-D, make sure these guys are still in the same group that I created them in. No, they're not. I want them all to be in Proxy. All these surfaces. Okay, and now let's go to Proxy. All right, now let's just let's display all. Let's grab this and call this Nico High. Okay, and now let's grab this proxy and call this Nico Proxy. Okay, now let's hide Nico High and show all of my joints. And let's turn on X-ray joints. All right, now it's really simple. Now all we have to do is just parent these to their respective joints. So let's do that real quick. in the end, you'll want to, normally this is called a tin can rig or a tin can proxy. Normally what you'll end up doing is you'll be creating a version of your geometry specifically for this purpose, because sometimes it's not nice to have to kind of look at how the geometry is badly overlapping here. So you'll want to create a version of this that actually has a little bit of space in the sections where the geometry kind of overlaps, and then you know, it's kind of a little bit more visually appealing to be working with the character. You're not so paranoid that all of these intersections are going on and whatever. I'm not actually 100% positive that I'm picking the right joints either, but this should be good enough for our purposes. So let's just see, let's just make sure that he's moving around. Oh, see, the neck is a problem. Show joints. Yeah, I guess that is the neck joint, huh? Jeez. Okay, cool. So here we go. Now we have basically, we have a version of our character that is in all total 3,900 faces. This is a tenth of the amount of geometry that we were dealing with before. This is, by comparison, is lightning fast, and we can use this version for animation, and it will have no impact on the high poly version. So now that we parented it all, it was all in the proxy group, but now that we've parented it to the bones, what we need to do is we need to add the individual geometry. So I'm just going to constrain my selection to geometry alone, and then just add the selected objects to the proxy layer instead. Okay. So now, not sure if you'll be able to see this with the. Oh, and it looks like I did accidentally disconnect the neck. I'm not sure if you can see this, but it is a little bit slower with the. You got to be careful because I accidentally disconnected the joint in the neck. So be careful when you're selecting your joints. But this is actually just a little bit slower than it was before. Whereas this proxy, oh, it's lightning fast. I think you actually. Let's see if we can see the frame rate. All right, so when I'm moving this around, it's at 58 or 59, and when I move the high around, it's at 33, 34. So it's about twice as fast. No, not twice as fast. Almost twice as fast. And this is a really fast computer. I have a SLI graphics cards, and I have 32 gigs of RAM in this computer. So this is a screaming machine, and it gets 34 about with the high poly version, and 58, 57, 58 with the low poly version. So presumably if you have a camera move, if you have set pieces, if you have any effects going on, any secondary animations, expressions, anything going on, then this proxy would actually mean the difference between being able to play your animation in real time while you're animating, or having to stop and play blast all the time. So anyway, there you go. It's very simple to do, just a little bit of grunt work with those modeling tools, and then make sure you're careful, because I accidentally reparented a joint in the neck. I could undo, but then I'd have to redo everything. So be careful when you're selecting those joints. And then when you're done, you could do a parent and scale constraint instead, and then just add the group that holds all that geometry to the display layer. But it's just so simple to just grab all that geometry and add it back again to that display layer. So why not do that? So there you have it. Make proxies for your favorite rigs if they don't have them already. It's a great way to save a lot of time, and I always say that there's nothing like watching your animation at speed. So this is a great tool in order to make sure that you're not having to play blast all the time just to watch your animation at speed. So please send me your questions. Send them to webmaster@kennyroy.com. I thank you for all of your questions that you send. They are great. Keep sending more. Send me your Maya files. I love that. And one more time, I promise I won't mention it ever again. Check out my Kickstarter at kck.st/zon uppercase AHFB. Anyway, there's the link. Thanks for your time. Good luck with your animation. And as always, rock on.